Welcome back to Tansy Academy. In this chapter 2, lesson 3, we'll be learning about various database components. Of course, I won't be going through the very complex components of a database. I'll make sure that it is up to the beginner's level. Okay. So whatever you see on the bold side here are the database components that we'll be discussing in this video. I'll try to keep it very simple. And I will try to compare these database components to a grocery store so that it's easy for you to understand. A database is like a grocery store. This is not in real, just as a comparison for you to understand. Okay, let's say that assume the database is like a grocery store where information is stored, organized, and retrieved when needed. See, what is a database? Database is a system where you store the information, you retrieve the information when needed. So these are the main functionality of a database. But within the database there are different components. Like a computer has a component, right? It has a PC monitor, it has a keyboard, it has a CPU, memory, hard disk, all those things. Same way, database also has different components. The most important component of a database is table. It is called database table. So you can compare it as shelves in a store. A store has shelves to keep items organized: vegetables, dairy, snacks. A database has tables to store different types of data. Let's say there's a table to store customer data and there's another table to store orders data. In the same way, we have different shelves to store dairy and different shelves to store snack, or different shelves to store vegetables. Same way, the database has tables. And if you move a little bit down, records, items on the shelf. I said that we have a shelf in the store to store snacks. So each individual snack can be regarded as item. In the same way, when you have a table to store a customer information in a database, each record is a piece of information. Let's say you are storing 10 customers. You have customer 1 from New York, customer 2 from New Jersey, customer 3 from Pennsylvania. So all these are different items on a shelf. So these are called records or rows within a table. And then fields, labels on items. Each grocery item has a label. See, if you pick up a snack, it has a label. What is the manufacturing date, expiry date, the contents, ingredients, what's its name, the weight. So all these are different attributes, and you have values. What is the weight? It's a value, right? In the same way, you have table. Let's say we have customer table, and the customer table have multiple rows for each customer, and then each row will be further divided into fields. So what will be the fields for the customer? You say customer name, I have customer address, customer email, customer phone number. All those are called fields. In a database, each field describes details about a record: customer name, product, price, order date, So these are the three main components of any database: tables, records, and fields. Of course, we'll be having very detailed lesson on this in chapter 3. And then there is another database component called primary key. See, if you have picked up any product in grocery store like a shampoo or a soap, you will see a barcode on the product. The reason for the barcode is, see, if you compare the barcode between a soap and a shampoo, they will be different. In the same way, if you compare the barcode in a grocery store for 100 items, they will be different. So that means a given barcode denotes or points to a particular product in the grocery store. In the same way, primary key points to a particular record in the database. Let's say customer ID 1 points to that customer only, to some XYZ company in New York, USA, so and so phone number. If you are talking about customer ID 2 is another primary key. It points to a different customer. So primary key is like a barcode on a product in the grocery store. And then comes database management system. This is a software application. DBMS is a software application. It's just like a store manager. A store manager keeps track of stock, sales, orders, and he organizes the products, Same way, the DBMS, database management system, it's a software application, or it's an application. And there are different vendors who make this DBMS software applications. Mysql is one of them, Oracle, SQL Server. So these are the different vendors for this DBMS. So a DBMS manages the data, ensuring everything is stored, retrieved, and updated properly in a secured fashion. So What is a DBMS? DBMS is a software and it is a part of the database component. Why it is used? It is used to organize and store, even retrieve or update data information accordingly. So the queries, say if you want to grocery store, if you cannot find a product, what you say, you go to a store worker, where can I find the rice? They will search and give an answer. In the same way, queries in a database query, they are called like SQL commands, are used to search for specific information, find all the products, find the product from March, find the product from June, find the product that has a selling price greater than $100. So not only to query, the store employee also stores the products in a racks, they arrange them overnight. In the same way, you can use SQL queries to arrange your data into different tables, rows and columns, and when you need it, you can ask, you can prepare a query to fetch back your information. Okay. See, this is your very first lesson, introduction to the database components, because you trying target to become a SQL developer. These things, even if you don't understand now, you will understand, because you will be using this day in day out in throughout the 100 lessons, tables, columns, rows, SQL queries. So you will be using it very extensively. And then in application software, we have seen in lesson 2, right? This is how the software is broken down into 3 different pieces: front end, back end, and database. So this is where all those components, these components that we studied about. See, there are more components than this, but to keep it simple, I'm not going to get into complex components. So these components lie in this particular layer, on the data layer. So that's why I brought back this image again. Okay, so this is called a database. You can call it as a database server. And then, how is the setup? You said that, okay, this is fine, but we understand computers, laptops, iPads, mobile phones. So how that is a whole, what is the setup of this database? How are these components stored here, and then how are they fetched? We'll take a look at a very high level. Let's say user, yourself, right? You want to store a customer information. So where you are going to store? You are going to store on a DB server. Okay, so this is what a DB server is. You're going to store the information here, right? But this is a database server. You are somewhere at your home, but your company is somewhere in some other country. They have the server in other countries. So you talk to this over the internet, right? But how are you going to explain to the database saying that, can you store the customer information from UK, or can you give me the customer information from New Jersey? How are you going to communicate, right? So this is the setup. See, we have talked about software applications. Now it is the time to implement that logic of software application. Okay, so this is your computer, and this is yourself using your computer, whether it may be desktop or laptop. And your computer has many softwares that you install, or by default it was installed by Windows, Microsoft, or any vendor from where you purchase this computer. So in the same way, there is a software called SQL client tool. Okay, this is a very generic name, so just assume this box represents the SQL client tool. Okay, and then this is your computer, your hard disk, your files, memory, operating system, Linux, Mac, everything. And then this is the area where you install multiple softwares on your computer. So you have software 1, software 2, same way software 3 is about SQL client. So what happens when you write a query here saying that select from customer table? You write that query here, and then you hit execute. So this tool will get connected to your server. So this server might be in a different country. So this tool will store parameters like what is the IP address, what is the user ID to connect, what is the password to connect, and what is the database I'm going to talk to. Because on a DB server you can have multiple databases, one for accounting, one for sales, stuff like, or you can have all in one also. So I'm just showing 3 here. So this client tool will store the parameters to stay. Okay, I got a query from a user, but where do I execute this query? Where do I pass this query? So there are connection settings that will tell connect to this IP address on Amazon cloud or on a Google cloud from San Francisco, or connect to this server from New York. So all those will be stored in this client tool called a connection parameter object. So using that, your query will be passed on to a given server wherever it is stored and the given database, and within this database you have multiple tables. Table 1, 2, 3 we'll be looking in chapter 3 very detailed. So I hope it's very clear now. From you will be installing a software called client tool, and then you'll write your query, and then you will store the connection parameters of the server in this, and when you say please execute my query, it will take the query, go to the database and bring all the customers and show it to you on your PC. Okay, so this is called database server. And even on the database server you have to install a DBMS software application. So the purpose of the DBMS software application is it manages your data and it organizes your data. It will respond to your query. If you say I want to fetch my data, this DBMS will say okay, I know where your data is. It will return back the data to the client tool. So even here it's a software, it's a server software, it's called DBMS. Here also there is a software, it's called GUI tool, graphical user interface tool, or you can call SQL client tool. Okay, and then as a student, right, you might not have the access to a server. Who is going to give you access, right? Of course you can pay money like $30 or $20 at the Amazon AWS, and on a monthly basis you can rent a server. But what if you don't want to spend money? This DBMS software and this client 2 software, you can install both these softwares on your laptop. So this is the client tool software, this is a DBMS software installed on your PC. Even this is okay, but this will work only for training. You cannot do this when you are trying to run a real company. It's very dangerous. Let's say you are trying to install a real-time software, a database DBMS of a company on your local desktop, and you are storing customers, their phone numbers, their accounts, balances, invoices, orders. What happens if your laptop is corrupted? You cannot read, your hard disk is corrupted, or there is something wrong with memory, your laptop doesn't start, then you lose all the data. So this setup is only for training. I don't recommend this for, even if you have your own business, do not follow this setup. If you have your own business, spend $20-30 a month, try to rent a server from Amazon or Google or Azure, Microsoft. Okay, and as I told at the beginning, there are various components, database components, but we have highlighted a few components: tables, records, fields, primary key, DBMS, what a DBMS software is, and what is a client tool, and what are the queries. So right, okay, but I'm not going to explain about others because they are complicated at this level, because this is a beginner's level. So what I explain now, even if you don't understand these components now, it's okay, you will get it as we move along into the course. Yeah, thank you. Let's move to the next topic.